Good morning, thriving warriors and those who wish they were. Okay, so we're trying something a little bit different this morning. Wow, the camera is up very high. It looks like I'm looking down, not really looking down, but oops. All right, so we're moving the room around a little bit. I have a little desk set up here, and I can see that that camera is just way too high. Maybe I can do this. That. And then I'll do that. Except we've got that light over my shoulder. Somebody's saying, why don't you just turn the light off? Okay, probably will. All right, but here we are, thriving warriors. And for thriving warriors and those who wish they were, we're ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Okay, cool, great. Alexa, what is the date?
It's Monday, October 17th.
Okay, and Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 5:52 a.m.
Excellent. And Alexa, what is the weather forecast?
Sorry, my weather provider isn't available right now. Please check back in a few minutes.
Okay, all right, well, let's get started because we got a lot of stuff to do. We're going to Las Vegas today. Well, we're not, some of us are. Okay, so, oops. Go back, adjust camera. Not bad. Okay, so what do we do here? What is our goal? Our goal is to help you get from point A to point B at the at the Career Services Department of Thriving Warrior. How do we do that? Well, this podcast is the primary way we do it, not the primary way. It's the point of the spear. But inside of this podcast, down below, see the description. Please subscribe, click on the bell so you get notifications. We have links to other important things, and we'll be adding something soon regarding the Christian part of our program. But there's a link right now to our online workshop, our basic training course, our 4-week basic training course. There's a link to the motivational video that I used to create this morning podcast. There is a link to the TED Talk that is associated with today's basic training module. So this is week 2, day 1 in our basic training. There's a whole bunch of other information and links to services we provide, like housing, clothing, food, hygiene, transportation, skills training, foundational employment, and career planning. And yet there's more. There's also the transcript of Seth Godin's daily blog post, which I think he's been doing for many years. So before we get started, the key thing is have paper and pen to write things down, because if you don't write them down, you're not going to remember it. All you're going to remember is how you felt. You're not going to pick up any of the little crumbs from the breadcrumbs that we leave as a trail. So think about how we get you from point A to point B is we have a trail of breadcrumbs, bleep, 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 scattered along the way that are easy to follow that help you get from point A to point B. Your part is you have to remember these things and actually use them. Let's see if I missed anything. Okay. Our format, our theme is basically, no, not basically, our basic theme and format is it's simple, ... Getting from point A to point B is simple. And then we have a little simple little breadcrumb. So today's simple breadcrumb is, it's simple, no pain, no gain. If you want to change the path you're on, you need to do things that are uncomfortable, that have some pain, and look at pain as your friend because it means you're changing. So some of the things I got out of the motivational video this morning is, number one, life is not easy. It's not fair, never was, never will be. That was Matthew McConaughey. No pain, no gain. Several people said that in this one. Learn from your mistakes. Learn from them. Don't just make a mistake. Learn from it. Service and significance equals success. So if you help people and you do things that are significant, you will be successful. Boom. Mic drop. There we go. No pain, no gain. Another key thing, hurt people hurt people. People who are hurt other people. When you go around, the happiest people, the people who are the happiest, they don't worry about getting hurt. They don't take advantage of people. So that's kind of a good indicator. If you find somebody who's hurt, careful, they're going to hurt you. It's just like you're always warned if there's somebody out there drowning. Lifeguard, number one, lifeguard principles 101. Be careful of people who are drowning. They will take you down with them. Okay, be careful of that. So hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt others. Your story is your fuel. Use your story, use the negative things of your life, the problems, the challenges, all that. Use that as the fuel to propel you. And Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, said patience is the key to success. It's not an overnight thing. It is not a sprint. It's not even a marathon. It's more like an Ironman to the 10th power. It's a relentless siege of forward progress, attempting forward progress, knowing there will be setbacks along the way. Okay, today's TED Talk. This is week 2. Week 2. Let's go back to the camera here. This is week number 2 in our 4-week thing. Week number 1 was the introduction. Week number 2 is how does the brain work and how can we dial in who we need to be right now and 5 minutes from now. How do we do that? Okay, so Diana, good morning. Good morning, Diana. Diana checked in. She's one of a few people. Good morning. Week 1 is overview and orientation. Where are we going? Because if we don't know where we're going, any path will take us there. We are heading to Successville. What is Successville? Well, success is a function. So people who have a little bit of higher level math, maybe high school level, certainly college level. Success is a function of money times meaning and purpose. And the key thing is money times meaning and purpose. So if you have no meaning or purpose in your life and you have unlimited money, your success is 0. You are just a person with unlimited money that has no meaning and purpose in their life. You have to have meaning and purpose. We're not going to talk about what meaning and purpose are, but we could break those down. We could also break down what is money. But we're not going to do that right now because time is racing. We're at 9:23. I'm going to have to get on the road. But if we don't know where we're going, any path will take us there. We're going to Successville. Success here is money times meaning and purpose. You could have a little bit of money and a lot of meaning and purpose, and you will be very successful. So Mother Teresa could be an example of that. She had very little money. She had a lot of meaning and purpose. People were throwing money at her, and she used that money to help more and more people. There are a lot of people like that. So money times meaning and purpose. Anything times 0 is 0. So the more meaning and purpose you have, the more success you have. That is where we are helping you get. That is the point B, success, Successville. So that's the orientation this week, is how Does the brain work? Because this is a neuroscience-oriented program. And that doesn't mean it is not compatible with religion or spirituality or Christianity. It doesn't mean that at all. This is breaking down what's going on in your brain. So when you have a thought, a belief, something is happening in your brain. How do we know? Well, we know without sophisticated tools that if something bad happens to your brain, it affects you. If you have a stroke, you're different. A lot of your past, present, and future are affected. We know it, so we just know it by life. We more know it because of sophisticated tools like fMRI machines where we can actually see neural activity. We can see what's going on when you have beliefs, thoughts, etc. Fears, things go through your brain. We can see changes in neural activity. And we can measure and see different releases of neurotransmitters, chemicals, neurotransmitters, and hormones. So when you have a thought or a belief, different neurotransmitters and hormones are released in you. When the Holy Spirit enters you, your brain chemistry changes. How do we know that? Well, we feel it, right? But we can also look at the results of an fMRI machine and we can see it. We can take samples of blood and see the change in the hormones or neurotransmitters in our blood or in our body. Wow, cool, magic. No, that's how it works. So we can see that. And this week, week 2, is about that. So if we are doing an analogy or metaphor of driving a car, of how to get to successful, well, we're going to get in a car. We're going to get in a car to get to successful. Well, this week would be, how does the car work and how do I drive the car? And a neuroscience approach to that is, as opposed to a psychology approach would be, we're going to get you the best driving instructor and he's going to teach you to drive the car. So you should become a good driver. A neuroscience approach starts with a neuroscience approach is, how does a car work? Before we let you drive the car, we're going to teach you what a car is and how it works. We're going to teach you about the motor and the transmission and the fluids and the brakes and the aerodynamics and all of that stuff. So when we get you in a car, you understand why things happen the way they do. Why, if you're speeding along and you turn, you go like, whoa, versus maybe you tap the brakes a little bit, turn the wheel, and then accelerate through the turn. It feels a lot different, better. Or if you're driving along and you hear all of a sudden a clink, clink, clunk, that you have an idea of what that means and what to do about it. And so on a psychology approach where you learn to think about your thoughts, your beliefs, your behavior, your actions, the outcome, etc., on a neuroscience approach, we go down several levels deeper to that to say what's going on. And if I understand how it works, I can tweak it. And so if something goes wrong, if you're only taught how to drive a car and something goes wrong and you don't know what to do, not good. It's kind of like in life, right? If your life is going along fine and everything's working, that's good. But if something bad happens, you need to know how to respond. So that's why we use a neuroscience approach. That is week 2. Today is understanding about the certain particular type of cells in our brain called neurons, or as Yuval Harari calls them, neurons. We call them neurons here in this country. So we learn about neurons, what they are, how they work, and what we believe, what it seems to be the hypothesis of their theory of retaining information and learning, etc. So our lived past, our anticipated future is really the focus of today's lecture. How do neurons work? Called the connectome. So that's the number of neurons times the number of connections on every neuron. And in the human brain, as the Ferengi would say, you humans, in the human brain, there are about 86 billion neurons, according to Susanna Herculano, about 86 billion neurons. And if you watch that video this week, you'll see why it's about 86 billion neurons. And each neuron has about 10,000 connections. Wow. So that would be so the human connectome would be 86 billion times 10,000. That is a big number. So 86 billion times 1,000 is what? 86 trillion. Add 1 0, about 860 trillion connections. And that gets magnified also because of different timing of the release or intensity of the release of the neurotransmitters, blah, blah, blah. Not important. The important thing is week number 2 is about how the brain works in a very, 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 very to the 10th power simplistic way, but enough to know enough so you can dial in who you need to be right now. That's week number 2. So my apologies for going a little bit long to that. Seth Godin. So we're going to take it out on Seth Godin because his great blog today, I mean, really fantastic blog, is about selling a company. And I'm just going to do the first paragraph and the last paragraph. Cars aren't like companies. Most cars on the road will be sold again and again until they end up as parts. Companies usually start and end with their founders. Then he goes through it. Really, really good. This is good for everybody to know that's involved in business. But it's not really applicable, and it's really long, and nobody's going to get anything out of it. Just read it, but it's down below. I'm going to go to the last paragraph, the concluding paragraph. Perhaps the single best indicator of whether a company will be considered for a strategic acquisition is that it has investors and board members who have done this before. Okay, who have done this kind of business before. So if you have people on your board, key people who have been involved in acquisitions and things before, that's the best indicator of whether it's going to happen again. Because these acquisitions are rarely simple, rational calculations on a spreadsheet. Right. There is often a need for cultural fit and a shared reality distortion field to create the conditions for them to get put on the agenda. So in other words, people who've done this before think like people who want to do this now. There is a shared distortion reality, a reality distortion field. That's kind of something Steve Jobs was famous for, is the Steve Jobs reality distortion field, that he would get people to see reality in a distorted way. And oftentimes he'd preface it along the lines of, let's just make the world a better place. Wow, that's a reality distortion. So what he's saying in the conclusion is if you build a company to sell it, you need to have people who have done it before, because when you're talking to the buyer, you have to have a shared vision, a shared culture to do it. Anyway, that's that. Let's go to now conclude this at 1910. Wow, this is going to be a record, but that's not a good record. With the Navy SEAL maxim, we're just going to leave it at yesterday was the only easy day. Get out there, make something happen, embrace the suck, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and be more samurai. And cut.